Well, as I said earlier, we want to welcome you here, and we're glad you're here. My job tonight is just simple to bring you up to speed to what is going on, okay? Now, many of you, just about all of you, with the exception of maybe one or two of you, this is not your first rodeo as a pastor. Yeah, I know where it is. And what I mean by that is you've pastored somewhere else, or you've been involved in ministry somewhere else, and now you're here. Okay? And with that being said, I want you to understand something about these next 3 days. We're not here to try and tell you how to do your job. Okay? Because quite often, you go to these conferences and some big wig gets up there and tells you, you know why your church is not growing? But you can learn with my brand new plan. You know, they pull that kind of stuff on you. We're not here to do that. We recognize that you guys are battle tested and you understand the meaning of this. Most new pastors think they're going to change the world when they go to their first church, and they almost get fired for simply changing the bulletin. I'll never forget, the first Sunday that I was interim pastor at Maranatha Church, we had a meeting the Wednesday before, because I wanted to meet the staff, and I wanted to meet the musicians, one of the elders came up to me and handed me a program from the past and said, this is the way we do it here. And I looked at him and I smiled and I said, I'll keep that in mind as I'm doing something different. Because I was charged with, we need to change and we want you to help us change and get us ready for our new pastor. We want you to be reflective of your ministry, where you are now. Because what we want to do is we want to encourage you and get you to a place where you feel like your ministry is growing, you're producing leaders, and you're reproducing yourself maybe for who may one day replace you. You're doing a variety of things. We know that, we recognize that. We're not gonna hand you a program and say, do these 9 steps and you will be successful. Because we all know when you take those 9 steps back, they were designed for a church in Cleveland, Ohio, and this is not Cleveland, Ohio. Am I joking? That's what we deal with. So what we want to say to you is, we want to help you discover a vision and a direction that you feel God is calling you to lead your church to. And in that process, you're going to bring your church along with you, because this is the first of 4 retreats. Okay, so for 4 retreats, you come to the first one and you start envisioning. We're going to go over some dynamics and some things, everything from truth and grace to a variety of things. The second retreat is when it really starts to get fun, because when you go home, you're going to bring a group of people that you have selected back with you for the second retreat. This room will be packed with people the next time, 6 months from now, when we do the next retreat. And these are people that you're hoping will become part of your leadership team. And we're going to talk about things like leadership, how to develop a leadership pipeline, how to bring people in your congregation into leadership over time and develop them. We're going to talk basically about principles to help you do what you feel God has called you to do. And then you're going to go back, work on it as a team, and then you're going to come to a third retreat with even more people. So by the time you're done with the 4th retreat, you have an army of people that are on your side, on the same page as you, helping you lead your church. Now, here's what's really cool. I've heard a couple of people talk tonight. They're already doing something similar to that, probably a little different than what we're doing here. But they've already identified. For example, talking to Tim over here from LeGrand, You've already got 3, 4 couples that you think, boy, these people would be powerful in ministry, and one couple would be great for replacing me when I retire. You know, so, okay, so what does he do now for the next 2, 3 years until he retires? How does he set them up? How does he begin? This is the kind of stuff we want to walk through with you. That's not telling you to do it our way, but you figuring out how it works best your way. You know, there are some people in this room that may not have a worship team. Where do I find musicians? All these things, we're going to help you begin to discover. You'll be surprised what you know or don't know, but never thought about that particular aspect. That's where we're going. So I hope that makes sense to you, but here's what I ask of you. Leave your past behind. Leave any negative thing behind. Oh, that won't work. Because the worst thing in the world is to have somebody do this. I'm going to illustrate it. When we talk about moving forward in the future and they go, look to the future. They're pointing that way, but they're looking that way. Because of all the bad things that have happened along the way to them or that they've seen happen to someone else, and they never think forward for themselves. We don't want you paralyzed. So, and then there are those who, well, I've done just about everything. You can't teach me anything new. I'm simply going to say, please leave your ego at the door. Because you'll be surprised what you're going to learn from one another. Not just from us, but from each other. So this is where we're going. Now, for us, it's a little challenging because the first cohort were all young people hungry for help. And so they were eating up everything we said. And yeah, we had to let some of the air out of our heads because we were feeling like we really got it, you know. But now we're talking to the veterans who've seen everything. They know every song and dance. And at some point in your career, you've heard this. I've seen pastors come, and I've seen pastors go. And when you're gone, I'll still be here. You've had somebody in your church talk to you like that. You had somebody treat you like that, right? So what we're saying to you is we want to help you, Jerry Maguire. Help us help you. Does that make sense? And you're going, well, then show me the money. So we're not here to do fundraising, sorry. So keeping that in mind, we want to talk about the price of being a pastor, because all of you are going to laugh when you see yourself in something up there. Being a pastor is listed among the 4 most difficult professions in the United States because a pastor has to be the preacher, the mentor, the example, the friend, the father, the mother. That's for the women, guys. Just in case you didn't realize that, you know. Reconciliator, husband, wife, marriage counselor, youth counselor. You see the list. Visionary, and doing all those things besides being the director, the keeper of the temple, and the cleaning staff. Oh yeah, pastors sometimes do janitorial duty. Okay? Every pastor constantly confronts many different things, such as, the pastor doesn't visit me. Sermon is too long. I was at a church just last month, and one of the leaders in the church pulled me inside and said, can you tell the pastor to speak a little shorter? And I was like, that's not why I'm here. You know, I know I work with the district office, but I'm not the police. You know, the music is too loud. We all have heard that to some point, okay? And in some cases, the music is too old. The building is too cold. That's usually the seniors. And then the list goes on. One of the most difficult things in the life of a pastor is to know that at some point, the people they love will abandon or betray them. We've all been betrayed, and it hurts. And in some ways, I would say it hurts more than your first breakup in junior high.
That was pretty traumatic.
But matter of fact, when we first started doing this, I was getting all these questions from younger pastors before we even came up with the concept of what we're doing. They said, we need help in this area. This was the number one thing they had. How do you handle it when somebody comes to you after you've been there a little while and say, we're leaving, we don't like your preaching, or we're leaving because of you, or whatever. And that was very difficult. They had never experienced anything like that before. And here we are with a bunch of veterans who've probably heard it 10 times over. Well, matter of fact, every church I went to, people left. Well, maybe, no. The pastor is often the loneliest person in the congregation. Actually, they're lonelier than the Maytag repairman, if you remember those commercials. Yeah. You know, who do you confide in? Who can you go to in your church when you're having a hard day? You have to be on all the time. I remember older pastors telling us when I was a student at Warner Pacific, they would always bring them in to tell us Bible students how to look forward to being a pastor. And one of the things they said is, we live in a fishbowl. Do we? Do we live in a fishbowl? Or are we allowed to be human like everybody else? You may see a pastor surrounded by people, but it's very rarely people who are interested in their problems, needs, or even their lives. There's people always around you. Pastor, I need you, pastor. You know, this is going on and on and on. And there are days like this. A woman goes home because she was at church and she went back to the house to see where her husband was. And she found him in the bed, laying there, warm under the covers. And she goes, what are you doing? Church starts in a half an hour. And he says, I know. Well, then you need to get up. We go to church on Sunday. He goes, I'm not going. What do you mean you're not going? I don't like those people and they don't like me. And she said, you have to go. You're the pastor. How many of you felt like that on a given Sunday? See, because that's what we're up against. Now, I'm not saying that as a downer. I'm saying that we have an adversary out there who works through everybody around you to try and bring you down. We have pastors leaving the pastorate in record numbers all across the country right now. We have pastors who are falling by the wayside for infidelity and other things because the pressure that they live under. But we have created some of that ourselves because we put this cocoon around ourselves where we hold our cards so tight that nobody's going to know what we're really feeling or thinking sometimes. And that's why you're not seen as human to some people. And so we want to help you establish a group of people around you who will support you and walk with you as you lead the congregation. So that's why we do this retreat. Jeremiah 3:15 says this, and I will give you shepherds according to my own heart, who will lead them with knowledge and understanding. You got into ministry because you have a heart like God does for his people and for lost sheep. You didn't get into the ministry to feel better about yourself. By now, you know that doesn't work. Okay? So what we're encouraging you to do and become is the pastor that leads your congregation. We're asking you over these next 3 days to walk with us, explore with us. We'll do SWOT analysis. We do a lot of different things here. And then you're going to break into huddles. Jerry will probably go into that a little bit more, but you'll break into huddles. And the huddle you're in here will be your huddle online for the next 6 months. And if you want to know how that works, talk to Andrew back there, he happens to be in my huddle. He's unfortunate. Yes. But we've ministered to one another in ways that you wouldn't believe. You know, we talked about the people that are surrounding a pastor, but they really aren't interested. In the huddle, people are interested. Come on in. We got a seat for you right up here. And the most refreshing thing, Andrew, if you could say it in a short sentence or two, what's the most refreshing thing about being in a huddle?
I feel seen and known on a regular basis.
And that's something sometimes you don't get as a pastor. Matter of fact, sometimes we're trying to figure out, even when I walk in the building of your church, people are like, oh, are we being evaluated this Sunday? No. If that was the case, I'd be coming in with a clipboard and I'd do something that we used to do when we were growing up when the preacher came preach. Lord help him, Jesus. No, I don't do that. I come in hoping to encourage you. And so we try and create that same environment here. And so I'm so glad you're here. Right quick, I want you to meet Alex. Alex is our newest pastor probably in the district. Is that true? Yeah, and he works with Steve at the Woodburn Church. They started a Hispanic ministry in Woodburn, because Woodburn is probably 70% Hispanic as a community. So they're trying to be proactive in a whole exciting way. So what's going to happen now is we're going to take a quick 30-second break, and Jerry's going to come up, and he's going to begin to share. So I'll give him time to get set up.